Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about storage. So let's get to the main event, the Drobo. Now I'm quite confident that a lot of people won't have any idea what a Drobo is.
And today we're going to do a quick unboxing and then an install so I can take you through the whole process.
It's a hard drive. It's a rated hard drive. Drobo do their own very special thing. They make 8 bay, 5 bay, and they used to make this little guy here, which is the Drobo Mini, which I absolutely love. Uses 2.5 inch drives as opposed to the ones that go in this, the full size ones, like so. They don't make the Mini anymore. I have a feeling maybe they're going to come out with something else Mini because there's a big gap in their product range. Anyway, jumping ahead. This is the Drobo 5 bay. 5 bay, which means you could have 5 times 12 terabytes, 60 terabytes. Then once you take into account one of them being redundant, you'd have around
43 terabytes.
Something like that in this one box. I go with 10 terabytes because they're a bit cheaper, so a total of 50 would be in there and I'll get around 37. This is my 5th 5 bay full-size drive Drobo. I have 2 of the Minis, so that's a total of 7 Drobos that I own to keep track of all of my data, both video and stills, because there's so much of it and it just keeps growing. Anyway, let's quickly take a look inside the box. And here we are. Welcome to the world of Drobo. Now this is, their packaging was made in the days when Apple's packaging was like this. Quick start card. They want you to go to their website so you can see how to start things off. I think this is about putting your data in the cloud. Some stickers, very Apple, power supply, Australian plug, and the USB-A to USB-C cable. They're making the assumption most people still don't have C. It's a fair assumption. And that's everything that comes in this box. It's the funniest thing. Here we have this piece of high-tech hardware and they put it in one of these reusable supermarket bags. They've always done this. It's quite strange. Anyway, that's how they choose to roll, and it's pretty funny. It has a magnetized front cover, 5 bays. There are 3 versions of this 5 bay type. This is the USB-C, which there's a single USB-C power button. There is the Ethernet version, the network version, where there's 2 high-speed network cables, so anyone on your network can access this and use it across the network. And then there's the Thunderbolt version, which has 2 Thunderbolts and a USB, so you can pass through to multiple. This you can't daisy chain. This is just a single USB device, so I use it just for backing up and hang it off one of my multitude of USB ports, because I have 2 USB 3 hubs hanging off my iMac, so I have probably something like 15 USB ports, of which they're pretty much full most of the time.
There's also another iteration of the Thunderbolt port which uses the USB-C variety, as shown here.
So why do I love the Drobo? Well, you don't need to be an IT specialist to use it, which is what I've found in the past. Perhaps things have become easier these days, but when I was looking at rated drives in 2010 sort of era, 2011, they were very hard to use and you needed to be a little bit of an IT expert to use them yourself. And I'm not that. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want it to be hard work. I just really wanted to plug it in, stick in drives, and it worked. It had an easy user interface, and that's exactly what Drobo is. Now, there are some people out there on the internet that don't like it because if this box dies, Drobo have a proprietary RAID system. They call it Beyond RAID. It's got its advantages. The advantage at the time was you could stick any size drive in and it would cope and it would work it out. And at the time, back in those days, no other hard drive could do that. And I thought that was quite good. Plus it's completely hot swappable, which some were and some weren't. So it's very easy to use, very easy to replace when things go wrong. The problem is if this case dies and you've got a proprietary RAID system, you need another one of these to put your drives into in order to get your data. So from my perspective, no big deal. You just buy another one if your data is that important. It's not a big expense if you've got that much data. But some people can't cope with that. Luckily for me, I now have 5 of them. This is 5 across a 10-year period, so it's fine. But I do understand some people don't like it. They might only ever buy one and not want to buy another one. But all of these things eventually stop working, so you've got to buy another one at some point. Anyway, this is the Drobo. Let's go in and have a little bit of a look now, how you set it up and how it works. Yeah, so what we're going to do, you've seen the unboxing, and here is the beautiful Drobo 5C. And what we're going to put in is these 10 terabyte drives. I've got 2 of them so far, reasonably expensive. This is another level of storage for me that I'm going to. So I will populate the drive over the next 2 months. So we'll start off with 20 terabytes. Of course, one will mirror the other, so we'll end up with just below 10 terabytes of data. Then when we add in another one, it'll go to something like
18, and then another one, 27, and finally 36.
Will be the final amount of data that we have to use, and we can have one drive failure, hot swap it out, put in a new one, and everything is good. And then I back this drive up. So there's another copy of this drive. So that's what I do, and we're just starting again. So let's go ahead and install these drives. And what I'm going to show you is what the Drobo interface looks like while you're doing this. And it looks really cool. It's a great interface. Let's go.
Okay, everybody. Well, we are in the Drobo software, known as Drobo Dashboard. And as you can see, my Drobo Mini is sitting there. And this line here indicates how full it is. Okay, so I've turned on the Drobo 5C for the first time. I'm just going to open the new hard drive. That's the crinkling you can hear in the background. It's still in its packaging. So the Drobo's coming online. They probably take maybe something like 20 seconds to half a minute to come online normally, but that's normal for a RAID. They've got a lot going on. So I'm just sliding the drive in, and I can hear it mounting, and we can see here that the Drobo 5C's come online. And what's it telling us? It is telling us that it needs a firmware update, because there's been a recent one in the last month. Yeah, all it wants to do is download this thing. Oh, here we go. There we go. We just needed to relaunch the software. So the first thing we're doing here is downloading the latest firmware update, which the software has decided to do automatically itself. Which in previous installs, I can't recall having a firmware update ready to go. Anyway, we'll just fast forward this part. Yep, well, this is like watching paint dry. It's not a very big update. I don't know why it's suddenly stopped. Maybe there is something going on in the internet between Australia and America, where Drobo are from, but we're getting there. All right, we've got it. So what happens now is it will install this firmware update, and then it reboots the Drobo. Then it should format the first drive that's in there, which we just put in. And then once that first one's in, we will continue to populate the drives. So we'll just wait for that to reboot. And whilst we're waiting for that, here's the Drobo Mini, which you saw earlier. It's such a lovely design. I really like it. Okay, so the drive has just restarted. A few spinning and grinding noises. I don't hear that much anymore because I mainly use SSD these days. But for mass storage, the best way to go is, well, the cheapest way to go is still spinning disks. It's just going through its startup process now. It's happy with that first drive. We need to put in a second one. So what we can see here is, would we like to format it? Yes, we would. Off we go. HFS Plus, that's fine. And we're going to call it Studio Backup. So now it's going to format that drive. And as we can see here, we've got one good drive here, and there are no more drives in here. And so basically it's saying, hey, there's something wrong with that bay. And of course there is, because there's nothing in there. So once this format is complete, I will pop another drive in. You'll be able to see what happens. So as I said, the best thing about these drives is they're hot swappable, and you can put any size in as long as they get increasingly bigger. You can put a smaller one in as long as you haven't used too much space, but if you're kind of getting full, you can just simply put a bigger drive in and it sorts it all out for you live. In the old days, if you needed a bigger drive, you had to copy all of data from your RAID onto something else, upgrade the drives, format, it's because it's always a good idea, and then put all the drives and then copy all the data back across. Okay, so that's done. We're formatted. So what we can see here is we have one drive. Over here you can see it says add a drive. So we are going to do that. Okay, so that second drive is mounting now. So as you can see down here, it says Drobo cannot protect your data against hard drive failure until you have provided at least 2 hard drives for single disk redundancy, or 3 hard drives for dual disk. Insert a new hard drive into the empty drive bay and indicated by the red light, and enable Drobo to protect your data against hard drive failure. So it's all very, very straightforward. What it's doing here is creating now that RAID for you. You don't have to do anything. It's sorting it all out. And what we can see on the drives, that sort of looks orange on this video here, but it's actually yellow, and well, amber. So that's what's happening there. And that's what's happening on the screen. So you get a visual representation of exactly what's happening. Okay, so we can see here now that here's the 5C, and we've got 2 drives that are green. These are the 2 drives, and this actually gives you an indicator of the drive's health and gives you lots of data on what the drive is, the vendor, product ID, its actual serial number, the firmware, the size. It's a hard disk drive as opposed to a SSD. It's a SATA interface, and it's a 72 RPM drive. And we've got 2 of them, and you can see the serial number here. Watch it change between the 2. Look at that. Then the capacity. So as I said, we don't quite get half when we're mirroring due to the Beyond RAID, but we are just shy of 9 terabytes. I've used none, so I'll start copying. It's saying I've used 1.65 gigabyte. I'm not quite sure what that's for, because there's nothing there. There's just one big volume, which can go up to 64 terabytes, which is good, because I'm going to go up to about 36. And we can do things like make the lights on the front blink. See, like this. Hilarious. We'll turn that off. We can rename it, we can shut it down, we can restart it. We can format it, and we can factory reset. So these are all things, all the tools we have. This sets the brightness of the lights. So that's it. That's how easy it is to set up. This is the actual dashboard itself. It's a very easy piece of software. So yeah, the more Drobos you have, the more appear in this interface here. So that's it. It's as easy as that. And if we, now this is currently running USB-A to USB-C. Now I've just started to copy some stuff over. As you can see, it's already starting to grow there. Don't know how often that will update, but we just saw it jump. And you can see if we jump to the Finder, this is the copy that I'm doing right now. So I'm copying this catalog, which is this big. And it's made up of a lot of little files and big files. So the speed varies. When you're moving the bigger raw files, it gets faster, but when you're moving all the small data files that make up the database for Capture One, then it moves slower. We'll also do one of these things after this is finished. So we will come back. We're going to run the quick speed test with the Blackmagic Design Speed Tester. Don't expect anything too exciting. But read is more important than write for an archive, which is what this is. So the important thing from my perspective is, and of course we're just running this over USB-A. So if we were running this over USB-C, which I don't have the correct cable for right now, nor do I have enough ports to be honest, we would get faster speeds. But the read, as you can see down here, I can get up to 4K 50p, and I'm pretty much shooting 4K 24, so no problem reading that in ProRes 422 HQ, and I actually use the light version at the moment. Fabulous. I think those numbers will change when I add more drives, but we can come back to that. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear if you have any questions about the Drobos. What do you think of the Drobo? What do you use for storage? As always, thank you so much for watching. It's great to see you. Please share, please subscribe, and please like. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now. Oh, and here's the data. We've moved our first 300 gigabytes across, and that's what it looks like. So everything is looking peachy.